I thought the New Year's party would be just another ordinary celebration. Kelly and I had been married for 6 years, and as we did every year, we were going to celebrate with our friends. However, what I witnessed that night turned my life upside down. When I discovered my wife Kelly's illicit affair, my world came crashing down. This story reveals the dark side of betrayal, anger, and revenge. Stay with us to learn how it all began and how it ended. Now that you've subscribed, let's dive into my story. Everything started a few weeks ago. I had noticed a strange change in Kelly's behavior. She constantly kept her phone with her, hid her messages, and was distant towards me. At first, I didn't give it much importance, thinking that perhaps the stress from work was affecting her. However, a seed of suspicion began to grow within me. One night when she left her phone in the bathroom, I couldn't resist and checked her messages. That moment, everything was about to be revealed. When I saw the messages from Jim, my blood ran cold. The messages were too intimate to be just between colleagues. Messages like, "I can't wait to see you tonight," and "call me when Jake is asleep," confirmed my worst fears. At that moment, I knew my wife was cheating on me. I didn't confront her immediately. I wanted to be certain before facing her. That's why at the New Year's party, my eyes were constantly on them. The way Kelly and Jim looked at each other gave away their forbidden relationship. However, the most painful moment was when I caught them alone in a room. When I saw them together, my world shattered. Kelly and Jim were wrapped in each other's arms, kissing. I was drowning in a sea of anger and disappointment. Even though I wanted to kill him, I knew Kelly wasn't worth spending the next 25 years in prison. "You're not worth it," I said, looking him in the eye. Jim didn't know what to expect. He knew I was blocking his way out. Fear and indecision were evident on his face. He tried to bluff his way out, but it was a big mistake. When he tried to push me aside, I quickly dodged his hand and delivered a blow to his stomach. As he doubled over, I grabbed him by the neck and slapped him several times. When he collapsed to the floor, I lost count of how many times I slapped the now defenseless, whimpering man. "Enough, please, no more," Jim pleaded, his eyes filled with fear and pain. But this was just the beginning. "Every moment you decided to betray my wife, you will regret it over and over again. I will sue you and your company. I will ruin you, and I will be rich," I said, looking into his eyes. When the police arrived, I looked at Kelly and said, "I haven't forgotten about you." Eddie, explaining the situation to the officers, said he was defending himself when Jim attacked him. The police asked the others, "Is this true?" "Yes, it is," they replied. "He's lying," Jim shouted hysterically. The police looked at Kelly. "Did you see everything?" they asked. Kelly remained silent, crying. "Do you want to press charges against this man?" they asked. The sympathy of the officers was with me, even though Jim was the one lying on the floor. "Yes, I want to press charges against him," I said. Sergeant Connor said, "If there's anything I can do for you, let me know." "I've been there," he added. Eddie said, "Stay strong," and left the room. I turned to Kelly and said, "Get your coat and get in the car." I didn't look back at her as I left the room. I didn't want her to see my pain. As the car sped into the night, my silence spoke volumes. "Are we going home, Jake?" Kelly asked. "We no longer have a home. The moment you broke our marriage vows, you destroyed our home. It's just a house now, a house where I used to be happy," I said, unable to hide the sadness in my voice. Kelly started crying quietly. "Can you forgive me, Jake? Please give me a chance." "I'm so sorry," she said. "Do you think I can ever forget what I saw tonight?" "I can never forgive you," I shouted, gripping the steering wheel tightly and trying to control my emotions. The car slowed down and stopped. "Where are we?" Kelly asked. "Get out of the car," I said. Kelly, with fear and apprehension, got out of the car. We approached a woman's house. "Mrs. Stevens, I need to talk to you about your husband," I said. Holding Kelly's arm tightly, we entered the house. "I caught your husband with my wife tonight at the New Year's party," Kelly said, tears streaming down her face. Mrs. Stevens slapped Kelly hard. "You can have him if you want," she said angrily. Jim's return home would be chaotic. I knew that Kelly and I would be separated forever, but the thought of it still hurt. When we reached Kelly's sister's house, I stopped the car. "Get out," I said. Kelly got out of the car in tears. I looked at her one last time and said, "This is over, Kelly. We are getting a divorce." With tears in her eyes, I closed the door and drove away. Returning home, the pain and anger inside me had not subsided. I could never forgive her betrayal. This was the biggest wound of my life, and it would never heal. Although I loved Kelly, I couldn't continue with her. The betrayal was unforgivable. The next day, I met with my lawyer and initiated the divorce proceedings. I had to accept that my marriage with Kelly was over. Remembering the beautiful moments we shared was painful, but there was no turning back. Betrayal had destroyed everything. I had to see Kelly one last time. When she came to the house to collect her belongings, I handed her the divorce papers. "This ends here, Kelly. I can't continue with you anymore. Sign these papers and let's end this," I said firmly. With tears in her eyes, Kelly took the papers and signed them. "Jake, please forgive me. It was a mistake," she said, crying. I looked at her one last time and said, "There's no forgiveness for this betrayal, Kelly. I can't continue with you anymore. This is over," and closed the door. After the divorce was finalized, I knew I had to start a new life. The years I spent with Kelly were now just a memory. Betrayal had destroyed everything, but life went on and I had to make a fresh start. To our listeners, if you are curious about how this story ends, please don't forget to subscribe. Your support is very important. Starting a new life wasn't easy. It took time to get used to Kelly's absence. Every corner, every room, and every item in the house we shared held a memory. However, I realized that I needed to let go of these memories. I sold the house and moved to a new place. New beginnings meant new hopes. I focused more on my career. Being successful in my job restored the confidence I had lost. I opened my life to new people. I reevaluated old friendships and spent time with those who were true friends. The void created by Jim and Kelly's betrayal was filled with new friendships and relationships. One day, to completely break away from the past, I went to our old house one last time to collect Kelly's belongings. As I walked through the house, memories of the beautiful times and painful moments we shared flooded my mind. While collecting a few things Kelly had left behind, I found an old photo album. Looking through the photos, I remembered how happy we once were. However, the betrayal that cast a shadow over this happiness had ruined everything. After collecting Kelly's belongings, I locked the house for the last time and handed the keys to the new owner. At that moment, I realized it was time to say goodbye to the past. A new life awaited me and I needed to shed the burden of the past. Years passed and the pain caused by Kelly's betrayal diminished, replaced by acceptance. I had opened a new chapter in my life, one where the mark of betrayal no longer existed. I had regained my confidence and had given my life a new direction. One day, I heard from an old friend that Kelly was going through tough times. Learning that she was filled with regret and loneliness created a sense of melancholy within me. However, her pain no longer affected me. I had moved on with my life and carved out my own path. Instead of feeling sorry for her, I focused on building my own happiness.